What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling City, and today we are going to be reacting to another video from Wrestlemania, and this one is titled The 10 Biggest WWE Wrestlemania Botches That Left Vince McMahon Angry. So, as we all know, Vince McMahon is a very weird, particular individual, and he has some quirks that if you happen to do it on camera, like during one of the shows, and he sees it, you are going to get in trouble, whether that is just getting chewed out backstage or him booking you awfully in the preceding weeks or months after. And I don't know any of these off the top of my head. I imagine some of them will be familiar, but I'm excited to see these 10 ones happen at WrestleMania, so let's go ahead and get this one started.
Now, the biggest WWE Wrestlemania botches that left Vince McMahon angry backstage. Number 10, Maven misses a key spot.
Maven.
Maven's YouTube channel
Shout
has
out,
offered
his
fans
YouTube's
a fascinating
great.
insight into the career of Maven, and the Tough Enough winner has allowed fans to see behind the curtain with compelling stories and insider information. One of Maven's most notable stories centered around WrestleMania 18, and according to Maven, during his hardcore title match versus Goldust, he messed up a spot with a dropkick in a trash
he's
can,
talked
and
about this.
enraged Vince McMahon backstage. I remember Goldust picked the trash can up and I was supposed to drop kick, and it was one of those thin aluminium trash cans. So the idea was that when I would kick it, it would completely cave in, look amazing, and Goldust would take the bump. So I go to do the spot, jumped, and completely missed. With the entire trash can. The moment I got behind Gorilla, Vince is irate. He's yelling at me and I'll never forget it. He said, "You have one move and you fucked that one up."
Man, so Maven, if you haven't already, his YouTube channel is pretty great. It gives some great insight to his career, you know, his time in WWE, those like 3 or 4 years. And this is one story that I have heard him talk about because I think he's talked about it a few times. But yeah, he missed that one spot and Vince was pissed. I mean, I get it. You know, he's kind of a perfectionist, so he wants to make sure every spot looks nice, especially for an event like WrestleMania. But man, to really make it act like that one spot messed everything up, ain't nobody remember that now. I don't know.
Interestingly,
I would
this
have
would be
lost my mind
Maven's
working with
only
him.
WrestleMania match, and it was mostly known for his now infamous botch. Number 9, Mickie James' inappropriate gesture.
Yep, we all know this
Mickie
one.
James versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania 22 is mostly known for its sheer quality and for causing a big commotion backstage. During the match, James would perform a suggestive gesture, and although this was very much in line with James's outlandish character
Yes,
at the
it
time,
was.
Vince McMahon was seething backstage. When James went backstage following her major victory, she was screamed at by McMahon for going off script. James would offer detailed insight into this confrontation during an appearance at WrestleCast.
This one at least makes sense.
I came back through the
I
curtain
get
and
it.
Vince was really mad. In the moment, it had seemed amazing to me. I thought, Vince will love this. Crass was the word I got. He didn't like it at all. He told me we're gonna have to go back and edit that out. Do you know how much time this will take? This was my first WrestleMania. My mum was in the audience. I'm freaking out already. I'm back through the curtain and I'm already in tears and an emotional mess. And I got yelled at.
So I get that one, you know, that's not like that's the sponsors. I mean, it is their biggest show, so that if it's anything, you can't really go too far off script if you're not somebody like, you know, a Shawn Michaels or Undertaker or Stone Cold or somebody of that higher status that can just do whatever they want, kind of like improvise. So I do understand this one more than the last one, but that's still unfortunate. Her first WrestleMania got messed up because of that one little moment.
At the moment would be quickly edited out of subsequent replays of the show, and it was a miracle that James didn't lose a push with immediate effect. Number 8, WrestleMania Blade Job. At WWE have had different rules when it comes to blading depending on the respective era. In the early 90s, blading was outright banned in WWE, and if wrestlers were caught blading, then WWE
Changed
management
a few years
would take
later.
immediate action. The WWE title match at WrestleMania 8 featured Ric Flair defending against Macho Man Randy Savage. In the match, Flair bladed, and this forced Vince McMahon to fine both wrestlers a substantial amount of money. The fine caused a lot of controversy, as Bret Hart also bladed in his match against Roddy Piper, but McMahon was under the impression that Hart's cut was achieved accidentally.
Ric
or the hard
Flair's
way.
blading, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Of all people to be in this situation, I mean, who would be surprised with it being Ric Flair? So, Yeah, but I am assuming that made this match better. I know people are going to get enraged that I have not seen this match, Randy Savage and Ric Flair, but a blade job, I mean, during that time period, that should only make the match better, so I don't blame him.
And Hart didn't use a bladed instrument. According to Hart in his autobiography, he and Piper avoided a fine by being discreet about the matter, whilst Flair and Savage were fined $5,000 each. So me and Roddy had the match, and of
5,000
course,
was a
I
lot
was
back
discreet.
then.
No one really saw what happened, and all of a sudden, I'm bleeding. Luckily for me, it wasn't a real gusher, but I remember when coming back to the dressing room, we had to pretend that we were mad at each other. He was apologizing and telling me it was an accident, and he didn't mean to kick me, because we had put on a big charade so we didn't get fined. So then, 10 minutes later, Ric Flair and Macho Man go out there and have a juice fest. Anyway, WWF fined them. Both of them, I think, got $5,000 each fined for having blood in the match. And I remember they said, "What about Bret and Roddy?" And they said, "Theirs was real, so we never got fined."
Wow, that is smart, man. I mean, that doesn't surprise me with both of them. Roddy Piper, I'm guessing that they had this planned out beforehand. I'm surprised that Randy Savage, he's known to be that dude that, like, thinks about stuff, like, multiple days in advance. So I'm surprised they just didn't do the exact same thing and pretend like it was an accident?
This policy would be embedded into WWE as they pushed through the 90s. However, by the time the Attitude Era came along, it was common for a lot of the top matches to feature blading in some capacity. Number 7, PG Blood. A bloodshed in the PG era was somewhat rare during Vince McMahon's time in charge of WWE. However, for Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 34, the two men decided to go off script and deliver blood in the match to amp up the intensity. It was reported that the blood was legitimate. However, it was said that the blood came from stiff elbows from Lesnar as opposed to a blade or a capsule. Naturally, due to the two men going off script in the main event of WrestleMania, McMahon was livid. PW Torch would even report that this led to confusion backstage as WWE didn't shy away from showing Reigns' bloodshed on camera. Last night after the Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar match, multiple sources tell PW Torch that there was a heated exchange between Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar. Our sources say that McMahon was upset at the excessive blood that came presumably from stiff elbows rather than blading. We are told the blading was not approved ahead of time and McMahon was irate. Others are skeptical or confused about McMahon's apparent anger over the blood, only because WWE didn't shy away from showing Reigns bleeding so heavily.
Like it was planned.
Now, it was appreciated that Reigns and Lesnar tried to make the match exciting, but ultimately
didn't help
the quality of the match.
Yeah,
it was seen as one of the worst WrestleMania main events in WWE history.
Unfortunately.
Number 6, announce table mishap. Now, speaking of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar going off script, they would also deliver a spot on the German announce table, and it was reported at the time that this also wasn't approved ahead of the match.
It
was said that the announce team wasn't prepared for it, which is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Commentators traditionally always know what key spots are planned for the match.
So these announcers were in the middle of commentating. Imagine you're just doing your job, calling this match, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. And then all of a sudden, they come over and go through that table that you're commentating at. You know how crazy that must be? Man, working in WWE is wild. I can't imagine that.
And it's vital that they know that they're going to be potentially involved in any physicality or drama. It was evident that nobody knew that the spot was planned, as it looked awkward, and even Michael Cole's commentary call had a sense of concern. Number 5, Michael Cole's WrestleMania Showcase. Vince McMahon always had a bizarre obsession with the Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler rivalry. Despite himself and the fans loathing the WrestleMania 27 matchup, McMahon was the one who insisted that it went on for several more months, and it was almost as if he was getting a kick out of booking the match. McMahon had every reason to hate the WrestleMania 27 matchup,
as
it was terribly executed and wasted 15 minutes of the pay-per-view runtime. Cole wrestled the match like he'd never seen wrestling before, and a lot of his offense was either timid or botched. Speaking to Corey Graves on the After the Bell podcast, Cole would discuss Vince's reaction to the infamous matchup. I got carried out of there a bloody mess. As I go to the back, I walk to the back and I'm like, man, I thought it went pretty good. I go to the back and I look at Vince, and Vince looks at me and goes, "That is the worst thing I have ever witnessed in 60 years. So that was my WrestleMania match, but the check cleared, and I'm still undefeated.
He's undefeated. He's right about
getting
that.
Such a strong showcase at WrestleMania. Hopefully, the days of Cole wrestling on the grandest stage are definitely over.
Hopefully.
Number 4, chair shot to the head. Now, under PG guidelines, chair shots to the head are strictly prohibited in WWE, and for very good reason. Thanks to research into CT and head trauma, there's no reason for wrestlers to be taking chair shots for any reason, and this
Yeah,
extends to
that
top
makes
names such as
sense.
Triple H and The Undertaker. The two legends decided to deviate away from the script at
Yes.
WrestleMania 27, and they decided to have a chair shot to the head in the match itself.
He does have his arms
Despite
up,
Vince
though.
McMahon being extremely close with both men, he was furious, and according to The Undertaker during an interview with ESPN, fines were quickly issued. Even after they banned the chair shots, I'm wrestling Triple H, and we're figuring like, I'm the most tenured guy here, you're his son-in-law, surely we can get away with this. Nah, he fined our ass too. I remember getting my check for WrestleMania and there was a big minus on there and I was like, son of a bitch. I called him right away. I said, did you get fined? And he was like, yeah, I got fined too. And I was like, what the hell good is it to be his son-in-law or his most tenured guy? But he had to set an example,
Yeah.
right? And that's what he did.
I mean, it makes sense because if you let him get away with that, he's either going to do it in the future or you're going to set that example that other people on the roster can get away with that. And as management, you don't want to do that. So that makes sense, but man, that really did make this match a lot better. I mean, this was at WrestleMania 27. So that was one of the only good matches, if not the only good match on this card. So I get why they did it.
McMahon was justified in his actions. As The Undertaker pointed out, McMahon had to set an example and show the locker room that the chair shots weren't going to be permitted.
That's fair, that's fair.
Number 3, The Undertaker gets carded out. Now, it wasn't exactly uncommon for Vince McMahon to regret
This must
booking a
have been a
match
later
finish in a
WrestleMania.
certain way, and he was prone to acting with anger
Him
when
and
the match
Reigns?
finish didn't go to plan. For the aforementioned Triple H versus Undertaker match at WrestleMania 27, the finish saw The Undertaker get carted off following a brutal war with the game. McMahon had a strong dislike for the match finish.
Wow.
McMahon believed it made The Undertaker look weak and inferior. Now, this was actually a rare W from
Sort
McMahon, as
of.
although the match stole the show, this was the only element outside of the chair shot that fans criticized. It really did make the dead man look weak, and it was extremely bizarre to see such a mythical character get carted off like it was a regular wrestler. Number 2, Kevin Owens.
I get it. He is the dead man, you know, so he shouldn't be needing to get carted off. But I wonder how much of it was him legitimately needing that help after, or if that was planned before the match even started. I don't remember that though, so I guess that says a lot about how impactful it really was on the match quality in the long term, you know?
Misses the mark. The Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho match at WrestleMania 33 wasn't
Disappointing.
exactly bad, and it didn't feature any notable
Yeah,
botches. The issue was that the bout was flat and really kind of underwhelming. The match was the second match on the show, and although the match was initially rumored to be a world title
had
match,
such a good
it was now
build-up,
for the
too.
US title, and the fans had lost interest in the rivalry. Both men weren't at their best in the match, and Vince McMahon knew it. When Owens got backstage, McMahon refused to even look at Owens. That's how much the former WWE chairman hated this match. McMahon would eventually
wasn't
break his silence to
that
verbally
bad.
berate the former Universal Champion, and according to Jericho during an interview with TalkSport, McMahon claimed that it was the single worst match in WrestleMania history. He told Kevin
He
it was
just
the
says
worst
that
match
all
in
the time, I
WrestleMania history,
guess.
and never heard anything about that. When I came through, Vince went with a thumbs up, so I think he was on Kevin's case at the time. I think he was going through a phase where he thought maybe Kevin had some extra weight that he wanted him to lose or wasn't happy with his work as a heel.
I mean, the match was not good, especially with the build-up that we had. I mean, this was the lead-up with that included the Festival of Friendship, one of the most shocking and creative heel turns we have seen in quite some time. So it being for the US title on the mid-card of WrestleMania, when it could have been for the Universal title, it made this severely disappointing. But Vince, he obviously had some sort of other vendetta or, you know, reason to get on Owens besides this, is what I'm assuming.
The crazy thing is, Jericho also claimed that McMahon gave him a thumbs up when it came to the match, so Jericho is probably correct in the sense that McMahon had a personal issue with Owens.
Yeah.
And number 1, Tombstone on the floor. When The Undertaker went 2-0
on the
at
floor.
WrestleMania 8, it was supposed to be a defining moment for the dead man's WWE career, as he had defeated the legendary Jake the Snake Roberts on the grand
Beginning of
stage.
the streak.
Sadly for The Undertaker, he walked backstage after the match to an irated Vince McMahon. McMahon hated the spot with the Tombstone piledriver to the outside, with specific hatred coming from the fact that the fans couldn't get a good view of the spot. According to the dead man on his
I
podcast, McMahon was
guess.
so angry that the veins were popping out right from his head. I'm thinking that was pretty cool. That was pretty
Yeah,
vicious.
it did
I
look
come
good.
backstage and the old man's waiting on me. He said, "What the hell was that? Why in the hell would you tombstone him on the floor? Nobody could see it. He just eviscerated me. The veins are all in his head." And then it dawned on me. I was like, that son of a bitch, he got me. And McMahon did have a point. Due to WWE's limitations when it came to production and camera work at the time,
Yeah.
it was hard for them to get a good shot of it, and it was definitely something that should have been perfected prior to the show. But there you have it, folks. 10
Yeah, that does. I mean, now that I think about it, it does make sense with the way he was on the outside of the ring. You know, the fans all to the side cannot see. So I get that. You know, it's something we as fans don't think of because what it looked like on camera, that was a very solid shot. And like Undertaker said, it made the match more like vicious. It had a better spot in it. But I can understand why Vince felt that way, but just imagining the veins popping out of his head when he is yelling at him over this, oh man, that must have been crazy. But yeah, this was a another great video from WrestleMania. I will put the link down in the description, so if you want to watch that again, maybe go over some certain spots, then yeah, I will have the link down there. If you haven't already, don't forget to drop a like, comment below any spots that you did not expect or already know, and subscribe. Come join the greatest city in the world, Wrestling City. And that's about it. I will see y'all next time. Peace.